So this week we're going to talk about like different ways that we can pay for things. So that's going to be the bulk of it. And so what I'm going to do is we're going to start things off by kind of like an interactive lesson, I would say. And I'm going to share my screen so we can kind of go through it. And then I would really like your contributions to what decisions that we make. So either you can speak about what I should do, or I can put the chat up and you can just type in the chat if you feel more comfortable doing that. But it'll be a lot more fun, with some of your thoughts and viewpoints here. Okay. So I'll go ahead and share my screen and we'll get us started here. So we are.
Mayor, you just got another email. Take a look.
All right.
Dear Mayor, every summer my friends and I talk about taking a trip together before we go back to college. This year, it's finally going to happen. We've picked a date, but the problem is I haven't started saving up yet. I have about 2 months before the trip and could really use your help finding a summer job and figuring out the best way to pay for things like my hotel and flight. Sincerely, Trevor.
All right. So we have someone who wants to figure out a way to, save for something far from the future, and but currently doesn't have a job, right? And so they need to get a job and need to pay for things that are pretty expensive, right? Like staying at a hotel and a flight. Okay. But we have 2 months time. So we do have some time here.
Trevor sure needs our help. Let's bring him into the office to learn more. Before he gets here, let's see what you already know.
Okay, so these questions are not things that you are expected to know right now. But, if you want to let me know what you already know, let's go for it. So this will kind of answer a lot of these at the end as well. Okay, so which of the following do you think is the best reason to use cash for making purchases? So these are kind of like pre questions to kind of get us to think about things as we go. So do you think that it's knowing what you have spent on money is simple, getting more cash from an ATM, keeping track of how much you have spent is equal, or splitting bills? It's easier. Okay, seems like we got some C's. Okay, I think that's fair. What is the best strategy to avoid paying interest on your credit cards? So again, not expected to know this yet, but curious to what you guys already think here. So interest is like extra money that you have to pay on a loan. So a loan is something where you don't have the money yet. So you're taking the money up front and you're making payments on it in the future. So do you think it's best to pay the minimum balance? Just make payments online, pay the full balance each month, or have credit cards from 2 separate banks? What do you think? So we type in the chat or just vocally, whatever, it's easy. A or C, Ozma? Okay. That's a good question. So we're going to spend a lot of time. So we got some A's. Okay. So Robert says pay the minimum. So what that means is that you're going to pay the minimum amount that you have to right now. And we'll learn. So we'll just say it. We'll say what you guys want. And we'll learn the difference between paying minimum and full. And credit score. So maybe you don't even know what this is, but basically when you're an adult, or actually you can start getting one in your late teenage years with you can be on an authorized user with your parents. You can start building something that's called a credit score. It's kind of like a number about how good you are about like managing your money. Okay, we got some C's. the amount of money you owe. I think that's a good guess. A blank is usually paid on a biweekly or monthly basis for a professional employment. Salary. Good. Good, Robert. Good, Ozma. Which of the following is not a source of income? Your monthly student loan payment, the wages that you earn after a work shift, the stipend you receive doing an internship, or the annual salary for doing your job. Hey, good. Y'all are smart.
Mayor,
All right.
I'm so glad you got my message. My friends and I are planning an end of summer trip. I only have 8 weeks to save up for it. We haven't even decided where to go yet. We've narrowed it down to 3 different options. Where do you think we should go?
Take a look at the options and help Trevor and his friends decide where they should go for their vacation.
All right. So where should Trevor take his friends? Should they save up to go to Miami? Should they go to New York? Which I was kind of curious, since you live near New York, do we want to represent New York or do we want to go somewhere different? Do we want to go to Hollywood? Seems like we're between New York and Miami, maybe. Priscilla, maybe you can break the tie by typing in the chat. Or maybe Priscilla wants to go to Hollywood. Beach or the city? Okay, all right. Priscilla says Miami. Thank you for your input. Let's go to Miami. Let's go to the beach.
This is Trevor's budget. He's written down all of the different costs for the trip. Take a look at how much Trevor has budgeted for his trip.
All right. So, but Trevor has set a budget of $400 and has allocated, about $100 to spend. So on a hotel, gonna have to have money for entertainment, transportation, food, you got to eat. And look at how expensive the flight is. So the flight also about another $150. So this isn't really money that Trevor has right now. So we got to learn how to, save and spend responsibly.
Trevor needs an income so he can start saving. Let's help him pick a summer job.
I sent job applications and completed interviews for a few different positions. Here's what I was offered.
All right. Should Trevor be a tutor? So working at a summer school tutor in the area in math and science, he would earn $9 an hour from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. So that is 5 hours a day. I assume that's just during the weekday, probably. I don't think I'm supposed to be able to read the fine print. Or could be a host at a restaurant, which would earn $6 an hour plus tips. Don't know how much tips are, right? It's a little random. And working about 6 hours a day. All right, once again, we have a tie. Priscilla, we need your opinion again. Host. Okay. So look, I got to drag the pen. We got to sign. We got to sign our name. It's not official till we sign. All right.
You may have noticed that these summer jobs pay an hourly wage. There are other ways that people can receive income. Let's look at some of the options.
Yeah, so let's learn more about, what does the word wage mean?
A wage is paid for the amount of time you work. You can earn a certain wage per hour, day, or week. Some full-time waged employees work 40 hours per week and receive benefits like health insurance.
So many jobs are going to be wage-based, right? You earn X amount, you normally per hour, or sometimes maybe you get it paid by the job. Maybe you're a painter or something and you are getting paid per room, or by how large the room is. Maybe you're cutting grass for someone in the summer. That would be more kind of like a wage, right? It's not consistent. But if you work the same amount of hours each week, maybe it would be. let's see what salary is.
A salary is a regular payment and is usually paid on a biweekly or monthly basis for professional employment. Salaries are usually described by their annual amount, the total for the whole year, and may be supplemented with other benefits, like medical or dental benefits.
So the good thing about salary is you know what you're going to make consistently every, bi-weekly means 2 weeks, or maybe get paid once every month. So, and that's going to be the same value each time. So it's good to kind of, plan out your budget.
A stipend is a fixed amount paid for your work. Stipends are usually paid to students or interns on a scheduled basis or after a fixed amount of time.
So these are normally like one-time payments. So maybe, if you're working, like I had some students work at a summer camp last summer, and they got paid at the end like at one time for what they did all summer. So it was like one flat stipend.
Thanks for helping me choose a summer job. I'm relieved to have some cash coming in to help save for the trip.
Okay, now Trevor is working and ready to start saving. Trevor's trip is a priority for him, which means saving for it is a priority too. That won't be easy. There are going to be some expenses that Trevor needs to cover while he is also saving for his trip.
Right. So everything that Trevor is going to be making, as much as we would like for it to go towards the trip, fortunately, there's other regular expenses that we're going to have to cover as well. So let's find more about that.
Over the next 2 months, you'll need to help him make smart spending decisions and decide the best payment methods to use so that he has enough to cover his trip expenses. Let's check in on Trevor. Trevor hasn't saved up any money for the trip yet.
So the savings is going to be how much money is put left for the trip. Okay.
He already has some money in his bank's checking account. He'll need this to cover any expenses before his first paycheck arrives.
Okay. So maybe most of you have a bank account. So you have a savings account and a checking account. A checking account is the account that is really ready to spend. Okay. And the savings account is really for you to not spend, right? We'll learn later that we can transfer money between the two through your bank.
Let's see what other money he has available.
All right, let's click on this debit card.
This is Trevor's debit card, which connects directly to his checking account. Any purchases he makes with this card will be immediately subtracted from his bank account.
So whenever we use a debit card, the money is going to come immediately right out of this balance here for checking. So right now, Trevor has $180 that he has access to when he's using this card. I think we're all familiar with cash.
First things first, Trevor will use his debit card to take some cash from his bank's ATM. That'll bring down his account balance by about $40, but at least he'll have some cash on hand.
Right. So that's one thing you can do with debit cards is you can insert it into an ATM. You would want to use the ones with your bank, so there's no fees. Sometimes there are fees. And you can take out cash. So we had 180 in checkings. We took $40 in cash out. So now we have 40 in cash, 140 in checking. And then Trevor has a credit card.
This is Trevor's credit card. If he makes a purchase with this card, it won't show up in his bank account right away. Any purchase on the credit card is a loan from the credit card company.
So a loan means that you're getting the money up front and you're going to have to pay for it later. So you're going to have to pay for it eventually, but it's going to take some time.
Did you know? Anyone under the age of 21 has to show proof of income and have an adult co-signer to get a credit card. In Trevor's case, his parents are the primary cardholders and have made Trevor an authorized user, so he can make purchases with it. As long as Trevor uses the card wisely, this can be a great way to build his credit early on.
So if I remember correctly, my parents did this for me when I was probably about 16 to 17. I started to use it for small things such as paying for gas in my car. Okay. So we'll learn more about when we say credit, we're referring to like a credit score, which we'll learn more about in a little bit here.
But Trevor needs to be careful. He'll receive his credit card bill at the end of each month. If he can't pay for all of his purchases when the bill arrives, he'll have to pay it off over time, plus the interest the credit card company charges for loaning him the money.
Right. So we'll learn, the good things about using credit cards, the things to be very careful about here. So interest is going to be one thing that we are going to want to avoid at all costs.
Trevor doesn't get his first paycheck until the end of the month, so he'll have to get by with the cash and money in his account until then. It's Trevor's first week of work. How should he get there?
All right. So we got a lot of decisions coming up here. So we want to take the bus. Cool. I like that. Let's save some money. Do we want to pay with cash, debit, or put it on the card, on the credit card? What do you think? Cash, credit, debit. So remember, debit's going to take it from here. Cash is here. And then credit is going to be a balance that's going to accumulate. And then we'll have to pay for it later, a month from now, basically. Cash. Okay, I got two cashes, so we'll pay cash. Oh, sorry, I got Zoom controls in the way. Get out of the way. Sorry. Okay, that was weird.
Bus passes are $15 each week. By taking the bus instead of driving, Trevor will save an extra $10 each week.
All right, so we have $25 in cash now because we spent 15.
Trevor needs to buy a uniform for work. It'll cost him $20. How should he pay for it?
So you got your first job. Sometimes this happens, right? Your employer is going to want wants everyone to usually look kind of the same here. So I think I got two debits. So we'll go debit. So we're subtracting from here. Okay. All right.
It's the first week at work, and Trevor's coworkers decide to all go out to lunch. What should he do?
So one thing that we'll see is that our friends may want us to spend money on other things. So yeah, we could pay and go out to eat, or we can eat packed lunch. Y'all are smart. Yeah, I believe we're still living with our parents. So yeah, let's eat the packed lunch. That's not going to cost us anything.
Trevor made it through the first week of his new job and wants to unwind. He decides to see a movie with his friends. His ticket is going to cost him $10. How should he pay?
Okay. Got a vote for cash, a vote for debit. I would say I wouldn't say there's not too much of a difference there. Okay, good job. So we got two debits. So we're subtracting from here. Okay, good.
The smell of fresh popcorn is hard to resist. Should Trevor buy popcorn?
So he's rewarding himself for his hard week by going to the movie. So that's already an expense. Should he spend more money on popcorn? Skip. Okay. Yeah, right. We're trying to save to go to Miami. Let's rather eat the food in Miami.
After the movie, Trevor's friends head over to their favorite coffee shop. Should Trevor get coffee or just hang out with his friends?
Okay. Yeah, so if your friends want you to go somewhere to a restaurant or something, it may feel uncomfortable at first, but you're welcome to still go to the restaurant and just go there to talk. Or get something, less expensive. Okay, we'll skip.
Only 6 weeks until Trevor's vacation. Time to buy a plane ticket before the prices go up. How should he pay for the tickets?
Okay, so we have a $150 expense Right now, we do not have enough money in our checking account. So we're not going to be able to use the debit card. Because remember, the debit card is connected right to the checking account.
Can we use everything in the credit card and then debit card and then use some of the credit card?
Most like websites won't really let you do that. That's a good question. Maybe somewhere like a restaurant, might allow you to do that. Or
Can you maybe use an ATM?
well, so when we go to the ATM, we're taking money out of checking to get cash.
Oh.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, so we do have to use the credit card now.
Since he hasn't gotten paid from his job yet, Trevor will need to use his credit card to buy the tickets. He'll pay off the balance with money from his paycheck when his credit card bill comes in at the end of the month.
So see how it shows up as negative 150. So that means that that's how much we owe right now. Okay.
Tip: Trevor can do this because he knows that he will be getting paid soon and that his income will be more than the cost of the plane ticket.
Right. So he made his decision based on because he knows he's got a job now. He just hasn't gotten paid. So I think he's already been working for 2 weeks. He just hasn't gotten his first paycheck yet. So he knows that money's going to be coming in soon. So he feels comfortable that he can at least use that credit card.
By using a credit card, Trevor is borrowing money to make purchases. It's a loan that he'll have to pay back later on. This concept can be kind of tricky. Here is some more information about how credit cards work.
Right.
When you charge something with your credit card, you're taking out a loan from the credit card company to buy it. They keep track of all your credit purchases over the course of the month.
So that's what we just did. We just charged it to the card, and basically the credit card money company is basically paying the airfare for us, but they're going to want their money back, right?
This is the period of time between when the bill is ready and when it has to be paid. By law, the bank must provide at least 21 days for the bill to arrive and then be paid.
So we're going to get a bill at some point. So by law, it's got to be at least around 3 weeks. And then when we get the bill, there will be a due date for that bill, which is what we'll see next.
You'll receive a bill each month with a list of all the credit card charges you made. You'll have the option to pay off your full balance, the amount you owe, or pay what you can, as long as it is greater than or equal to the minimum payment.
And we'll see what the minimum payment is. We're going to get a statement here in a little bit.
If you choose to pay less than the total credit card balance, you start to pay interest on the money you still owe. Interest is the fee you are charged for borrowing the money.
All right. Yeah, so interest is not a good thing. We do not want to pay interest. I'll show you that the interest rates, especially for credit cards, are ridiculously high. So the idea of an interest rate is, if you borrow $100 and there's a 25% interest rate and you don't pay it, that means you're going to have to pay 25% more of your balance next time. So you would have to pay an extra $25 for the next month. So over time, and that's the thing, over time, that value, if you just don't pay it, is going to get larger and larger. So it can be really dangerous.
By putting money towards your credit card bill or paying down your balance, you can build up your credit score.
Yeah, so let's learn more about credit score. So it's usually a number between, I think, 500 and 850 or so.
A credit score is a number that represents how responsible you are with money. Many factors go into determining your credit score. Explore each one by clicking the pie chart. Making your payments on time has the biggest impact on your credit score. Even one late payment can have a negative impact, so it's critical that you always pay your bills on time.
So and by the way, the important thing of this credit score is it kind of, if you need to apply for a car loan. So let's say Trevor, wants to buy a car in the future, or at some point needs to apply to rent an apartment or to purchase a home. The company that's giving you the money is going to look at your credit score, and that's basically going to tell them how dependable are you to make your payments on time, right? Because no one wants to give you money unless they think that you're going to pay them back. So the payment history is just, are you consistently making your payments on time?
Your credit score is affected by how much you owe in total, and also by the percentage of available credit you're using. If you have a $1,000 credit limit on your card and are using $900 of that credit each month, you are seen as a higher risk and your credit score goes down.
So although it may seem like a credit card is like an infinite amount of money, the companies do put limits on how much they're willing to risk that you're spending each month. So $1,000 means that they're capping your expenses at $1,000 per month. And like I said, you do not want to get really close to your limit each month. Oftentimes, I believe about 30%, which would only be $300 in this case. So oftentimes your limit will be, much higher than you would actually spend.
The longer you've been using credit responsibly, the higher your credit score. You're considered less of a risk than someone who has only been using credit for a short amount of time.
This is part of the reason why it's beneficial to get access to one of your parents' cards when you're, later teenage years, 15, 16, probably 16 at the earliest, I would say. Because they will actually be able to trace back until then to know that you had a credit card.
Applying for several lines of credit at once can lower your score. Every time you apply for credit and the lender runs a credit check, your score drops a little bit.
A credit check is basically just when someone who's loaning you the money is checking your score. That's basically.
Having a variety of credit types, like credit cards, student loans, and an auto loan, can increase your score.
All right.
Credit bureaus are the agencies that determine your final credit score. They don't reveal exactly how the scores are calculated, but these different parts all contribute to your credit score.
They like to keep it a guessing game. It's a little annoying.
Okay, back to these plane tickets. These will have to go on Trevor's credit card. Did you know that paying with a credit card can also provide you with protection? If your credit card information is ever stolen, you can deny any fraudulent charges not made by you later on and have the company issue you a new credit card.
So unfortunately, yes, this has happened to me. I saw my statement that someone bought something in another state, and I was like, that wasn't me. So all you do is you call the company. Generally, it's on the back of the card. And, you're like, well, that wasn't me. I never went to this place. And they're actually really good about catching this themselves. So you would not be liable for those charges. And they would give you a new card so that your information, could stay safe.
Credit tip: spend within your means. The golden rule of credit cards is not to spend more than you can afford. It can be tempting to charge to a credit card, since you won't have to pay until later. Remember, you'll have to pay it back eventually, and interest fees can really rack up.
This is where people get in trouble, I would say, right? They want something right now, and they're just like, I'm going to pay for it later. And that can be a scary or a very dangerous kind of way to view things. We want to make sure that when we make that charge, that we have the money right then to pay for it at all times, right? If it's an emergency, that's different, but we don't want to go on large shopping sprees and just be like, I'll pay for it later.
Trevor's brother is graduating from high school. What should he get for a gift?
All right. So we don't want to be, I would say, this is our brother. We don't want to be too stingy. You know, graduating from high school, that's kind of a big moment. So personally, I would recommend giving your brother a present. All right, so Ozma says, all right, so we got debit, cash, and skip. I'm just gonna kind of randomly go. I'm gonna go debit because that was the first one here.
Great! Trevor's sister had a great idea for a present, and he was happy to contribute to something that made his brother happy.
Remember, there's not really with a lot of this stuff, right? It's not so much right or wrong. There's a lot of room here.
Trevor is out getting food with friends, but the sandwich spot is cash only. What should he do?
So what this means is that if we use our debit card, or if we use our debit card at the ATM, it's going to cost us an extra $5 to get $20 out. Yeah, okay. Yeah, we'll skip this. Okay, good.
Since this ATM wasn't from Trevor's bank, he would have to pay a fee to withdraw money with his debit card. He saved himself some money, but now he's hungry.
Yeah, so if your bank is with like Wells Fargo, you're going to want to use the Wells Fargo ATMs. If you're with Bank of America, you're going to want to use Bank of America. If you're Wells Fargo and you use Bank of America ATM or something else, there's normally going to be a little bit of a fee. So that's something to keep in mind.
Trevor can use his debit card to withdraw cash from his account directly from an ATM, automated teller machine. This particular ATM is not associated with his bank, which means there's an additional fee added if he chooses to withdraw cash here. Trevor's cell phone bill has arrived. This regularly occurring expense is a fixed expense because it is always the same amount. How should Trevor pay this bill?
Right. So remember, a regularly occurring expense means it's going to be the same every month here. Okay. I'm seeing some debit choices. That's good. Keep getting that to show up, which is okay.
Wait, for recurring fixed expenses like his cell phone bill, it makes sense for Trevor to set up automatic payments through his bank.
Oh, did I say? Oh, I clicked credit card, didn't I? I'm sorry, y'all. I think the thing messed me up.
All he has to do is access his online bank account and decide how much and when to pay the bill. Then he doesn't have to remember to pay his bill each month. What should Trevor do?
So on your bank app or on the website, you can set up basically like an auto draft, which means it'll just pay it for you without you having to manually go to the website and pay. So yeah, it's a big time saver. It doesn't cost you any money to do this.
Great. Trevor will have his cell phone bill paid automatically next month. Trevor just got his first paycheck. Let's take a look. If you thought a pay stub would just show how much money you earned, think again. There is a lot more information on a pay statement than that. Click on the different parts of Trevor's paycheck and I'll explain them.
So whenever you get your first job and you get your first paycheck, I gotta say you might be a little disappointed because of taxes. So you can see kind of how complicated things can first look. You'll see the dates where you worked. You'll have some sort of number tied to you, your social security number, and then so how much you're earning here. So remember, we are making tips. So we have 168 plus 30.
This shows the amount Trevor earned for this pay period before taxes. Withheld tax is the amount taken out of your paycheck to pay for income taxes.
So there's different types of taxes. So we'll learn more.
Medicare is a tax that pays for health care for people aged 65 and over. Trevor pays into it now because he'll need it later.
So the idea is that you pay a Medicare tax the whole time while you are working. so that you can use that program when you are older, above the age of 65. So it's like you pay into it now with the hopes of being able to use it later on in life.
Social Security is a tax that pays people who are currently retired and for the future retired population. That'll be Trevor one day.
Similar thing. All right.
Federal income taxes are paid to the federal government and are used to fund government services such as healthcare, national defense, and scientific programs like NASA.
So anything done by the federal government. And then there's a state government too.
State income tax is paid to the state where you live or work. The amount of income tax varies by state. Some states don't have income tax at all. These taxes help to support schools, maintain roads, and keep people safe.
So look at how much that is. That adds up to be a fair amount of money, right? 15, 25, 27 and some change, right? So I think that probably adds up to $28. So of the 168 that we're making, 28 of it is going into taxes. So that's what the net pay is.
You see that section labeled net pay? That's the amount of pay that Trevor takes home after taxes are taken out. That's why this paycheck is a little lower than he originally expected. So, how much of his paycheck should Trevor put towards his trip savings?
So remember, the savings is going to be what we're going to put in, what we're going to use basically in Miami. So about half. I think that's fine. Yeah. And I messed things up. Now we got a big credit card bill. I did not mean to do that. So we'll see.
Saving strategy. Pay yourself first. Try putting away the amount you want to save first before you spend it on anything else. This ensures that you are making saving a priority. It will keep you on track to reaching your savings goals.
So when we say paying yourself first, it's like prioritize the thing that you want to save for in the future first, because that's what's going to influence your future decisions.
Trevor can also sign up for direct deposit, which would electronically transfer his paycheck amount into his account for him. What should he do?
So that means that it'll go directly in the checking account. I definitely suggest this. That way you don't get a paper check each time that you have to take to the bank, or, I mean, you can, as we'll see, you can use it on
Great choice. Trevor's paycheck will automatically show up in his account. No need to worry about losing or depositing his check. What a busy week. Trevor's first credit card bill just came in too. Let's click on the different parts of Trevor's credit card statement to learn more.
All right. Here's what a credit card statement kind of looks like. So here's that credit limit that we were mentioning. That's the maximum amount that we can spend.
This is the total amount of money you can charge to your credit card.
And so we have a balance of $200. I accidentally paid the cell phone bill. We'll see what's going to happen there. And so of the $200 that we owe, the minimum amount that we have to pay is $20.
This is the minimum or lowest amount you can pay to avoid late fees. If you pay just the minimum amount, you'll still owe money, and you'll end up paying interest on the remaining balance.
All right, here's the amount of interest that we would owe.
The annual percentage rate is the interest rate charged by your credit card company on any outstanding balance.
So over 15%. And honestly, sometimes they are about 22 to 25%. They can be very high.
This portion of the credit card statement provides more information on interest payments and how long it will take to pay off any credit card debt. Look at how long it takes to pay off your credit card if you only pay the minimum.
So if we only paid the minimum, and that's for the only this $200 balance. So not, that's if we don't use the credit card anymore, and we're only paying $20 a month. It's going to take 11 months to pay that off. 11 months. And it's going to end up costing us $215.73 instead of $200. So, and here we go. Some cards have an annual fee.
Some credit cards charge you additional fees, like an annual membership fee or a late fee if you don't make your payment on time.
So, honestly, none of my credit cards have an annual fee, but some of them do. So like, sometimes the upper tier ones like American Express sometimes have a few $100 a year fee. Sometimes they can be much smaller. Okay.
How much should Trevor choose to pay for his credit card bill?
Should we just ignore our credit card bill? Should we pay the full balance? Should we pay the minimum amount? I think you know what we should do. So we really should pay the full balance. Yeah, thank you, Oscar. So we're gonna have to take that out of the savings, because we didn't have enough in checking.
Credit tip: pay in full. Credit cards typically charge high interest rates, but you'll never have to pay interest if you pay your balance in full each month.
So if you pay in full, you're not paying any extra money. You're just paying the money that you owe.
Let's take a look at exactly how much paying the minimum balance or skipping a credit card payment can cost Trevor in interest. Trevor's credit card debt can add up if he doesn't pay off his full balance. We'll look at different ways he can pay off a $250 credit card debt.
So if we pay it off in full,
if Trevor pays his $250 bill in full when it comes, then the total cost of his $250 purchase will be $250.
and it doesn't really take any time, right? So that's why the time really should be like 0. If we make only the minimum.
If Trevor chooses to pay the minimum payment, it would take him about 18 months to pay off the balance. That's a year and a half. Plus, he'd end up paying about $35 extra in interest. Now, what happens if Trevor misses 2 payments and then pays the minimum payment? Well, it will take Trevor about 27 months, or almost 2.5 years, to pay off his credit card debt. And that's not to mention the extra interest he'll pay and any late fees. Plus, the missed payments will hurt his credit score.
Yeah. So whenever you use a credit card, this is definitely like the takeaway is you want to always make sure that you can pay it off in full. You do not want to get in a cycle where you can't pay it off, because that amount that you owe is just going to be getting larger and larger. And it can be it's a trap that a lot of folks get in.
As you can see, making only the minimum payments on a credit card bill each month can keep you in debt for a long time. That's because the average minimum payment only equals 2 to 4% of your total debt. If you take longer to pay it off, the interest adds up and the balance stays high. Time to book a hotel room. Trevor will be sharing the cost with his friends, so the room will cost him $75 for one night. How should he pay?
All right, what do you think? So we don't have enough in our savings to pay. We only have $60 in our savings account. I don't think we can do a 2-step process like putting cash in first. We don't have any money in our checking account. So I think we're gonna have to use the credit card again, right? Because the debit's linked to here. So I think we are gonna have to use the credit card here.
Wise choice. Some credit cards even offer you travel insurance just by making the purchase with your card. This means if you cancel your trip, you may not lose the money you already spent.
That's a good thing to have.
Credit tip: extra protection. Credit cards can offer you extra travel and fraud protection. Trevor just got a prepaid credit card from a family member as a gift. That's an extra $25 for him to use for his expenses or spend on the trip.
Nice. So a prepaid card kind of looks like a credit card or debit card, but there's a certain amount on it, right? So maybe you've gotten these for holidays or birthday.
You might be thinking that prepaid credit cards are just like cash. Not quite. Be careful of fees with prepaid cards.
Usually the fees are for the person buying it, like initially when they buy it, but they do vary a little bit from company to company.
Prepaid cards may charge fees to activate your card, fees each time you make a purchase, or fees if you don't use the card for a specific amount of time. These fees are subtracted from the value of the card. Prepaid cards do give you additional protection and the ability to check your balance online. Oh no! Trevor overslept and missed the bus. He'll have to drive to work.
And remember, driving costs us more money.
While shopping, Trevor is offered a store credit card. If he opens one today, he'll save 20% on his purchase. What should he do?
So right now we have a credit card through our own bank, but other stores, and if you pay attention when you go shopping, you'll see a lot of these have them. So they'll have usually a really enticing offer in the beginning to try to, either it could be a couple $100 or it could be something off. So it could be your favorite retailer, like, I don't know, Best Buy, it could be Amazon even. Okay, so you guys want to open it? All right, so we'll accept the offer.
Trevor may be able to save some money today, but he should be careful about opening up new credit cards, since it can lower his credit score. Store cards can also come with higher than average interest rates.
So yeah, so this is what I think a good thing to learn about. So it's going to be an enticing offer for you to get in the beginning. It'll typically have a higher interest rate than your bank card. This initial lowering of the credit score is really just in the beginning. Your score will recover in a few months' time, but it does mean more statements to manage, right?
Plus, Trevor already has a credit card. Does he really need another one? He should avoid having a bunch of credit cards. It only makes it harder to track how much he's spending. Trevor is a bit tired and decides to pick up a cup of coffee on his way to work. How should he pay for it?
What do you think? Got some cash. See what the next one. Priscilla, Robert, any all right. Cash, okay. Sounds good. Using cash is good.
Trevor needs to return his work keys. Uh-oh. He can't find his work keys. Now Trevor owes the company $10 to replace them.
Uh-oh.
How should he pay for the lost keys?
So we have an unexpected expense. It's just $10 though. We got the prepaid card too. Okay, cash. All right. Got another vote for cash. So we can use cash.
It's Trevor's last week of work, and his coworkers want to take him out to lunch. How should he say thank you?
So should we buy a card for $5? Should we send an email? Send an email? Okay. Osmo says email. I think, this is I think one of those things where I think an email can show that you care, right? I would say it depends on who it is, right? If this is your grandmother or something, I would say definitely a handwritten card would mean maybe a little bit more.
Trevor was able to thank his coworkers, and it didn't even cost him a dime.
Yeah.
Time to pay the cell phone bill. Trevor set up his automatic payments for his bill last month, so it was paid in full and on time without him having to worry about it. Trevor just got a $50 birthday check
So we
from
got
his aunt.
charged to our credit card.
How should he deposit the check into his account?
So should we go to the ATM or should we take a picture of it? So usually in your bank app, you can take a picture of the check and then in a couple days time, it'll go into your account. I think in here, it's going to be instant though. ATM. Okay. Okay.
Great. Trevor can deposit his check with the ATM, but he should check his account to see when the money is added. It may take a couple days. With so many mobile and online options, Trevor should look into other, more convenient ways to deposit this check. With his bank's mobile app, he could deposit the check right from his couch at home.
Right. So convenience, right? That's a commodity because it means less time. So in the real world, right, Trevor would have to walk around to find an ATM or drive. So it would take extra time away.
There is only one more week before Trevor's big trip. Let's finish up Trevor's bookkeeping before he goes.
So we got paid the same amount as before. So we get,
How much should Trevor put towards his trip savings?
so we've saved 60. We're gonna owe 125 for our credit card. Bill. Okay, if we put 85 in, then we'll have 85 in our checking, which will be enough to pay off our statement. Priscilla says 75. So I think Priscilla, right? We want to try to save more because we want this value to increase more. Robert says 100. Can we afford a 100? So if we put 100, then that means this value is going to go up by 70, which isn't enough for us to pay off our credit card bill. So then we would have to end up withdrawing from savings anyway. I think the maximum amount would be, if I'm doing my math right, 95. That would be increasing this value by 75, which would be just enough to pay off the credit card score. Let's try that. So it's kind of compromising.
Great. Trevor will get a boost to his account balance. Plus, a percent of his paycheck will go directly towards saving for his trip.
All right, so now that it's our second bill, you can see that it'll show that we paid. So it was 150 plus 50. So it was 200 and then minus 200 because we paid in full. And then our current bill right now is 125. So we can pay in full. We have enough in our account.
How much should Trevor choose to pay from his credit card statement?
Pay the full.
Credit tip. Pay in full. Paying your credit card balance in full each month. One last thing before Trevor goes on his trip. He stopped at a payday loan place on his way back from work. They said they could give him an advance on his paycheck for next month's income. That would mean a lot of extra spending money for his trip.
So definitely be careful of these places. We'll learn more about them. You can usually, like, pawn shops do these types of things as well. So they're going to give you a loan the day of. So normally, if you were to get a loan through a bank, it's kind of a long process. It's going to take time. But they're going to offer you a lower interest rate. But a payday loan, because they're giving you the money right then, right there, they're generally gonna charge you a lot of interest.
Should Trevor accept the payday loan?
What do y'all think? Do we want more money to take the loan? No. All right, good. Smart choice.
Wait, let me tell
Let's
you a
learn
little
about
more
them, though,
about
anyway.
payday loan. Payday lenders allow you to receive a loan in the form of cash before you get your paycheck. They are sometimes also referred to as cash advances. As convenient as this sounds, payday loans and similar services usually charge extremely high fees and interest rates. sometimes over 400%, which can make them really difficult to pay back over time. Because of the high interest and fees, it's important to weigh the short-term and long-term costs. With that information in mind, what do you think? Wise decision, Mayor. Although some extra cash might be nice on his trip, Trevor would have
Robert,
paid the price for
probably
the high
about
interest rate on this type
10
of loan.
minutes, I would say. Probably about 10 minutes left. Maybe a little less, but
Looks
probably
like Trevor met his trip savings goal and was able to have a good time with his friends.
yeah. So remember, the goal was to have $150 to spend on transportation and food and fun things. So he
Now
had
that Trevor's off on his
$155.
trip, let's head back to your office to review some of the choices you helped him make. Trevor did end up using his credit card for some of his purchases. Since he paid his credit balance in full at the end of the month, he didn't have to pay any extra interest.
So we didn't pay any money.
Phew! It's always a good idea to pay your credit card balance in full each month if you can. Let's take a look at some of the other tips we covered. Pay yourself first. Try putting away the amount you want to save first before you spend it on anything else. Spend within your means. The golden rule of credit cards is not to spend more than you can afford. A little research can go a long way. If you are considering a prepaid card, look for one with low or no fees. It wasn't easy helping Trevor navigate the pros and cons of different payment types, but you did. Now that Trevor is on his trip, why don't you take a moment to reflect on what we've learned today? And remember, the powers that be, your teacher, can see the answers.
That's me.
Your friend just opened their first credit card. What advice would you give them before they start making purchases?
Okay. So they open a credit card. I think definitely. Oh, Priscilla, you raised your hand. Yes. Sorry. You know what, Priscilla? You can just talk, Priscilla, if you want.
Always pay the full amount if you could.
Yes, I'll put it in caps. Always pay in full. That is very important. And what should our mindset be when we're using a credit card? We want to make sure. Ozma, yeah. You can speak, Ozma.
Whatever you're gonna do, use your mind wisely.
Yeah. So like spend money that you have available. So we don't want to charge a bunch of money and then not be able to pay for it at the end. Yeah, good. I think that's pretty good. Anything else? I think that's all right. Sweet.
How can missing a credit card or other loan payment affect you in the long term?
So what are the bad things about not paying your credit card or your loan? Oops. Robert, I think I accidentally lowered your hand. So you can speak, Robert.
Well, it will affect you in the long term because of those taxes and interests.
Interest, yeah. So not really taxes, but definitely pay more money with interests. And these interest costs will increase with time. Yeah. So that's why we want to pay in full, which is what Priscilla said. Okay, we're not going to do these. Instead, what we're going to do, I know some of you got to leave right at 6:20, is let's try to recap the differences between debit and credit. And then we're going to, I'm going to give you some situations and we're going to, see which ones are describe a debit card and which ones just describe a credit card. So how are they different? Remember, debit, when you use a debit card, it's coming directly from your checking account immediately, right? So within a couple of hours, if you checked online or you're on your app, you would see that the balance changed. Actually, probably less than an hour. Whereas a credit card, remember, a credit card is you're basically taking a loan from a bank or a store. So store would be like if you got, you know, a specific store's credit card, like we did in the simulation or the module there. So let's go over some of the pros of a debit card. So can anyone think of something good about using a debit card? Oops, sorry. I need the Priscilla. Yes, Priscilla.
Like once you do it, like you do it, and you don't have to worry about paying the credit card company back.
Yeah, I like that. Now, I don't remember the order that I put these in, so I'll reveal the first thing. I think it sounds similar to what I had. Oh, okay. So I guess this is one thing that we didn't mention, so maybe you wouldn't know this, but when you use a debit card, you have to have at least a 4 digit number. It's called a PIN. That actually should be capitalized, PIN, and it's a number that you use every time that you use a debit card. So it's like a way of protection, security. Another thing is debit cards and cash are kind of similar, right? So if you're using cash, and remember, you can use your debit card to take out cash. So if you have your debit card with you, you don't really need to carry maybe cash at all or very little cash. So both you still get protection with debit cards as well. So if there's a fraudulent charge, so a charge is not yours. And this is one thing that maybe you didn't know. So obviously we can use an ATM, but you can even use this in another country, which is nice. But of course there will be fees. And what Priscilla said is very good as well. I think I put it more in the credit cards here. So the cons of the debit cards, I'll just go through these and we'll play the kind of the game here. So one thing is that we can actually accidentally do what's called an overdraft. So that would mean if we get a negative balance in our checking account. So oftentimes your bank is going to require a minimum amount of money that you keep in your account. It's probably at least $25. It might be more. This really depends from bank to bank. And so if you overdraft, you actually have to pay even more money. So it's something to be careful about. It's pretty easy to avoid though. So with a PIN number, right, you get security, but just like how we hate remembering passwords for different websites, you're gonna have to remember what that number is. So that might be a challenge in the beginning, but soon it will be, a habit. Seeing the pros of credit cards. So I'd say, the important thing is if you have an emergency, you can use a credit card, right? So that's kind of the security that a credit card can provide. If your car breaks down or something, and you don't have the money, you can use it, right? It's not ideal, but what really is the alternative option at that point? So you're protected, so similar to a debit card. And actually, so a lot of banks and companies do offer rewards. So this can be cash back. So this could be like you get 2% or 3% back on what you spend, or travel rewards towards, paying for flights. I will say to be careful with these though, because these tend to get people to spend more money then maybe they would. So yeah, this is really what Priscilla said, right? If you can't pay the balance in full, you'll pay extra money in interest. Could end up paying a lot more money. You might have a yearly fee depending on the type of credit card. Missed payments will then also hurt your credit score. And yeah, so studies have shown that, kind of a psychological study, that you're more likely to spend more money when you use a credit card compared to debit or cash. And that's because the mindset that you have when you're making the purchase decision. If you're using a credit card a lot, you're like, I'm going to pay for it later. Like, whatever, it is what it is. Whereas especially when you pay cash, because you physically see how much money that you're spending on something, you kind of feel this kind of like this, not pain, but a sense, you have more of a recognition of how much something is. If you're spending $200, you're gonna be like, whoa, that is a lot. Whereas with a credit card, you might just swipe it and not really think about it. So that can kind of cause you to maybe spend more money. So I think I have 9 situations, and then we'll leave, if we can at least get through 4 or 5 of these. So let's play credit or debit. So I'm going to give you situations. So the first one is, Jamie used her card to purchase a new television. If she pays off the balance within 6 months, she won't have any interest added to her balance. Credit or debit? That be represent credit. Yeah. Nice. That is a description of a credit card. Yes. Okay. Your sister goes to an ATM and withdraws money from her checking account. Is that a credit card or a debit card? And it's just the two of you, so I don't mind. Yeah, Priscilla, your turn.
Debit.
Debit. Yeah, nice. Last month, Eric used a card to purchase a new computer from a popular electronics store. When the bill arrived, he realized he only had enough to make the minimum payment. Is that a credit card or a debit card? Ooh, I don't know. Okay, Ozma will let you go.
Credit.
That's credit. Yeah. Remember, you don't get a bill when you use a debit card. Happens right away. Jenny used her card to purchase a present for her friend's birthday. When she received her monthly statement, it was $15 more than she anticipated. She then realized that the card's annual fee added to her balance. Yes, Priscilla. Yes.
Credit.
Credit. Yeah. There's an annual fee sometimes for credit cards. Just a couple more. You're out grocery shopping with your grandmother. When paying for the groceries, the cashier asks her to enter her PIN number into the kiosk. Ozma, I think you were first.
Debit.
Debit. Your mom returned a pair of pants that she purchased because they were the wrong size. A few days later, she checks her online bank statement to see if the money had been returned to her checking account. Is that your, okay. I think your hand was still raised from last time, so I think it's Priscilla's turn. Priscilla, what is this, credit or debit, Priscilla?
Credit.
Ooh.
Oh.
Try again.
Debit.
It's debit. Okay. It's kind of, I can see where you went with, right? With the online bank statement. So you can see you do get a checking statement every month. So I can see that. I would say the key word here would be the word checking account. Because with a credit card, it's a balance that ends up accruing. So this is a debit card. Your parents have made you an authorized user on their account, and I've given you a card to use to get your back to school supplies. Yes, Ozma.
Debit.
So to be an authorized user, this would be a credit card. Okay. So that's something, so it's really like that means it's in your parents' name. They're just letting you use it. The family car was in need for a few repairs. Your dad pays for the repairs with a card and says, we don't have enough money to cover the cost right now. I will put this on my card and pay the bill later. Priscilla.
Credit.
Credit. I think this might be the last one, maybe. Linda gets an alert through her mobile banking app notifying her the latest purchase she made has caused her account to go into the negative. The fee for overdrafting her account was $35. Wow, you were both the same time. So I'm going to go Ozma because that's basically just, we're just flip-flopping it this time.
Debit.
Yeah, debit. Good. Maybe this is the last. Cameron has been putting his allowance into a checking account that his aunt opened for him. He then decides to use some of the money to buy concert tickets online. Yes, Priscilla. This is the
Debit.
debit. Good. All right, you guys. That's all I have for today. Thank you for being so engaged and interactive today. Really appreciate it.